Her lips which whisper, like reeds on the wind, wet with moisture sprung from a well deep within, whispers, like the petals of an iris, the reedy blossom which weathers and is not trodden down for long. 50 to 1 and near to be outdone. Yeah, to follow this trend, you got to go back to all of the unfriendly intel endorsement for piracy and illegal duplication. That's kind of like a big smokescreen for espionage. That's something that every intel person should know. But there's a lot of things that come into play with this kind of stuff. But I'll pick it up. Let's see. The call of a raven before their new haven startled them into awareness. The year 326 found Jenna's dire fix before Ashton's West Gate in all fairness. Darkwater Inn, debauchery and sin, synonymous were they, what rabble went in. Yet here they would pass the day to the last, amidst all the ruckus and din. Jenna did call an empty mare's stall, donning a burlap grain sack. Dress finer would she and later be seen, for pursage Fred presently did lack. At 9:15 a dwarf came to dine, from the mountains up north to be sure, not wanting to ask what crusted that axe, or of hardship so great to endure. A king's son was he, though not king to be, from father's halls was he spurned. Cast out on a whim, unneeded he'd been, his fortune his own to be earned. Though gold he did crave, infrequently he bathed, his demeanor was far less than rosy. Well, that phone doesn't know what to focus on. Hold on. His demeanor was far less than rosy. Grumpy for loot and stinky to boot, the bugs in his beard appeared cozy. Fast friendships were made as tabs yet unpaid demanded attention and were soon addressed. In came a warning as night turned to morning, a farmer and somewhat distressed. My sheep, they were taken, and be not mistaken, for I know where my sheep have been going. Goblins, I reckon this town needs protecting, and goblins were they to be knowing. For goblins Fred hated, they're so overrated, for who can I trust on this errand? I'll need but a few, strong-willed ones will do, lest our town and fields become barren. Drink up tonight, we'll leave at first light, the clamor dismissed with a wave. If well all does go, I'll stick them on poles, around my sheep there'll be none so brave. Jenna was led upstairs to her bed, by Fred and by Mithrax the dwarf. Return I will later, let not them berate her, be careful and board you the door. A thief in the night came after midnight, waking the girl and the dwarf, who ran him outrightly, then left to what might be a safer alternative recourse. The good Thompson's Inn down further had been, where inside they found again Fred. For not had they known that this inn he owned, with family who he somewhat led. Amber was small, of course she knew all, and had many a cousin to call. A real social queen, she always was seen as generous and loved most by all. To Fred she was cousin, removed by a dozen, of dread he was going out of town. Off to Drakmar, which wasn't too far, for seed not well to be sown. Edgar came next, and he ran the desk, with Elmo in charge of the door. Eli drew baggage of horse and of carriage, porter and groom of a sort. Dread second oldest, and business was boldest, not much for the life of adventure. He ran the town when Fred wasn't around, worked he like a servant indentured. The baron uptown most likely would frown, knew he of the Thompsons and inn. By name did he rule, though weak and a fool, nephew to the Duke had he been. Rich from the trade pertaining to slaves, for the Duke's hand a washbowl was he. One to be feared when foes disappeared, the Duke had no enemies to see. A would-be fell tyrant, related to pirates of Black Lake and the great inland sea. His daughter was round, no suitor to be found, the name of some flower had she. Catania was fair, ebony long hair, ill-tempered like a rabid wolf. A dragon's heart had she, cold and dark if need be. Accept it and don't ask for proof. Claudia was bold and very, very old, to her kin long lives were endowed. Yet youthful to see, sorceress she be, nothing lost need ever be found. New to her craft, with shiny new staff, as babysitting was just not her thing. On babes she would cast spells to make them sit fast, less trouble this way would they bring. Esmeralda was seen as not quite as mean as her father, the barbarian king. Horned helmet she wore, bit hard to ignore. In mail she was clad, made of rings. Of Sutton held was she, the land of the free, as long as the sheriff got laid. Of Yakko, her dad, he wasn't so bad, as long as no errors were made. Catania was bad, for friends she was glad, to end fights for which she was renowned. Child of the highway, roadside, and byway, atop dung in a cart was she found. The maid at the inn, an old enemy had been, Catania did settle the score. One bump on the nose, and oops, there she goes. Now who's gonna clean up the floor? Fred liked his liquor, not good for his ticker. His undoing was he told it would be. To dread who was smart, he was an old fart, not farmer material, be he. Irked Fred this did, after all, but a kid, for what did he know about me? It's easy to judge and maintain a grudge when going on what one's eyes see. I may not be smart, but I view with my heart. I see things that many would miss. Wise man or fool, but rarely a tool, for all I have but this one wish. For life demands all kinds, with all sorts of minds, the destiny of one for that one to choose. Work hard and you'll see that anything can be, where freedom reigns one cannot lose. Fred finished his drink, the crowd stopped to think. No query, no pardon, no why. He meant what he said, his heart drove his head. He was truly one likable guy. Thought Catania who knew how few men were true. They cheated, cavorted, and cried. Besotten with mire, befuddling desire, indeed, how often they lied. Baring her breast, she rose to the test. We best put these goblins to rest. Her fist in her hand, alone did she stand, ignored not he her throat or her chest. Aye, lass, you'll do, but we are but two. I trust that I meet your approval. If you're courting my praise, you'll heighten that gaze, for I abdicate, considering your scruples. Fine, fair enough. Your challenge was tough. My hand and my gaze I rescind. Hail and well met. You're sprightly, I'll bet. My nose, nay, incumbent to mend. Thus uttered Fred, abrading his head, fond to be found unremissive, as she reburdened her trust with nary a fuss, a bluster and coytily permissive. What misgivings had she but no longer be? Her best in his hand did she nestle. Her best in his hand did he nestle, Her jab quick contrary, indeed did he parry, impacting like mortar to pestle. Feigning a whimper amidst raucous simper, alluding to friends from about. But two we are not, as well you have got, 5 for fell goblins to rout. The rise burnt away, dewy mists in a haze, the dampness was felt in many a knee. At dawn they embarked with supplies they earmarked, for their journey 2 weeks would it be. Past Triangle Inn, where Izzard had been, no doubt out there looking for Jenna, sniffing the breeze for dirty wench knees, maglejupe, rye, lilac, and henna. Saul was aware that goblins were there. He paused as the 5 headed west. He hoped they had weapons and adequate protection, for should they be put to the test. A vague afterthought, what armor they brought, 5 fools on their way to the grave. Thought Saul as he loosed the morning refuse, 3 brigands, 1 unsightly knave. What feather and cap? With friends he fell flat atop Spike and his minuscule crossbow. With service a smile, all heaped in a pile, out thusly such trash all must go. Past Wye the road to Green River Ford, or Dead River Ford since the fall, skirting Drakmar, the rocky sandbar, for toll there must be paid by all. A turn to the left, Black River heading west, south of the northern rim forest, or Zinepherthel, where Orduith dwell, in emerald glades of arboriousness. All morning they walked and listened and talked, giant beetle was all to be found. Be that a warning that after this morning, less easy it be where we're bound. Across the floodplain where 2 rivers drain, they marched nearly all afternoon, in unison, in line, in arrhythmic time, upon feet that grew weary too soon. The eagle was keen and longed to take wing. To Claudia he always returned. They were not to lack, for food he brought back. His pay and his keep did he earn. With night beasts at bay, the rabbits would play, chasing about in the brush. A feast not to flatter, approached, they would scatter, to stand very still in a hush. Viper was there, and could he catch hare? The rations had yet to be touched. Of wolves he was sired, his coat was admired, just not by those born in a hutch.